we are in the month of Kislev, okay? We are celebrating Chanukah very, very soon. And the topic that I chose tonight was finding light in darkness, okay? We've been through months and months and months of definitely semi-darkness. You know, it's been a bumpy road for everyone, I'd say. For some people more than others. Anyone that has lost anyone due to COVID, it's been extremely difficult. And, you know, the pain knows no bounds to lose a loved one. I'm finding people's anxiety levels are super high. You know, will I have to isolate? Do I need to isolate? Is this cough a cough? Is this cough COVID? You know, have I been near anyone? There's just so much kind of going on in our day-to-day lives, as well as so much anxiety to do with COVID related. But actually, I do private counseling. And, you know, very often people come and they meet me for the first time. And I always say, you know, the first time is all about just seeing if you relate to the person, seeing if you get on with me, you know? I say it's like a shidduch, right? If we don't connect, then it's not going to work. But people come and I feel like they're bringing very often a lot of pain, frustration, depression, anxiety. It could be you know, an array of different things. And one of the feelings a lot of people come with is like, am I actually going to be able to ever change this? Like, is this going to get any better? You know, because I'm coming with all this stuff, but like, is there any hope? And that is the darkness that I see that people are in. When I say darkness, it could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be spiritual, right? People feel like they're stuck in a dark place. So when I was preparing this talk, I came up with 3 main aspects that I felt we could integrate into our lives in order to find the light in the dark, okay? So the first one is be a fighter. Fight with positivity. When you're a fighter, you have a weapon. This weapon, please God, I'm going to explain how, should be positivity. So I don't know if any of you watched Slavy Youngrice Wolf, but I was reading, you know, obviously I was looking around at a bunch of different things, and she said something beautiful, okay? So what happened? The Hashmonaim, the Hasmoneans, defeated the Greeks, okay? And they wanted to light the menorah. They wanted to light this fixture that had been lit every single day. And that was the first thing they wanted to, you know, kind of in order to re-inaugurate it, they want to light the menorah. They look around and there's no oil. So they're searching and they're searching, and it needs to be very pure. It needs to have the seal of the Kohen Gadol, of the high priest. And eventually they find a jug of oil. So they take it out, they open it up, and everyone's faces kind of fall down again. Why? The jug of oil is only enough to burn for 1 day. So as we know, they say, Chanukah is 8 days, because the miracle of Chanukah is that we found 1 jug of oil and it lasted for 8 days. Now, Slavy asks a very interesting question. Why is it 8 days? Really, it should be 7 days. Okay, we found the oil, not so miraculous. They knew that there'd be some oil. Yes, I guess it was a miracle that they found it in perfect condition. But they found the oil. So, okay, it lasted 1 day, which was meant to. And then let's celebrate the next 7 days where it was miraculous. What is the 8th day about? So she said something beautiful. She said, we are celebrating the searching for the oil. We're celebrating the fact that it was a miracle in and of itself that the people looked for the oil. Now, why wouldn't they have looked for the oil? They'd been through a very, very hard time. And we've all experienced this, right? You've got your eye, you're focused on the goal, you're working towards something, life gets tougher, things get more complicated, and you start to get tired, you get apathetic, right? Why should I continue to, keep working towards that thing? It's not working anyway. And this was the place that they were in, right? People have a life stream. I want to be a doctor. And there's so many hurdles, year 1, year 2, year 3, and things come in the way. And eventually they're like, well, I'm kind of going towards this goal, but is this really anything that I should even be fighting for, right? We hear a little voice saying, just give up, right? So the first day of Chanukah, which amounts to the 8 days that we celebrate, is really the celebration of the fact that we searched, of the fact that we didn't give up. Okay? I'm not sure about you, and I've muted you all so you can't tell me, but I feel like a lot of us are naturally quite negative, right? Your kids lay the table and it's like, where are the cups? What about like, look, the knives, the forks, the spoons, the plates are on the table, right? We kind of hone in on the negative. And the interesting thing is that in the prayer called Al HaNisim, which we say every night of Hanukkah, and that's in the benching, at the end, it uses, I had my siddur somewhere, it says, Al Lahadot Lahalel, Lahadot Lahalel, right? That we praise and we sing and we are grateful, right? All this language of gratitude. And what's interesting is that what I felt is that these words, right? We've been through a hard time. Hanukkah was hard. And then we're saying that we have to use this time to thank Hashem for everything that's good. So the antidote to fighting this apathy is positivity, right? And there is an aspect of fake it till you make it, right? My mum's selling these gorgeous gratitude journals, that she made a long time ago. And she's still selling them, so please be in contact if you'd like one. And actually someone in Manchester created one for kids, a beautiful one, like very, very, basic. But when you start this exercise of keeping this gratitude journal, it's really, really hard to find 3 different things every single day that we're grateful for. But if we learn to see the positive, then we can continue fighting, right? We mustn't become apathetic. I always say, with teenagers, if they're rebellious, that's fine. If they, fight with you, that's good. If they're apathetic, just give up because there's nothing to talk to, right? So we have to be fighters, and the weapon we're using is positivity. The next tool, maybe, okay, the next aspect that I felt would be beneficial for us to integrate into our lives, okay, to find light in the dark. Pushing boundaries, okay, pushing boundaries. And actually, my husband's friend called Yoni Golka, I'm not sure if any of you saw any of his videos, but he was videoing a lot of different people, celebrities, famous people. And one of the people that he interviewed a while back was Rabbi Sachs. And there's this, I was watching it today and feeling like a little bit emotional, like, oh my gosh, you were sitting such a short place away from him, and you were having a conversation with him, like, and it must have been quite close to our, to his diagnosis and everything. And Yoni says to him, how do you succeed? Like, what's the answer to being successful? And he said, challenge yourself outside of your comfort zone at least once a year. Know that you won't be able to achieve all your challenges, but the blessing is in the trying. Okay. And I thought that was really beautiful. Okay. Now, Rabbi Dessler he says something amazing. He says, the greater the challenge, the greater the potential for greatness. Okay. So the bigger the challenge, the more great the person can become. Now, if you look at anyone successful, okay, whether it's an athlete, whether it's a top lawyer, a chef, anything, anyone that's successful, it didn't just come to them. It wasn't like, okay, I want to be successful. I want to make it to the top. I want to be a partner in this business. And that was it. It all just came to them. No, they had to work really long and really hard for it, right? They say it takes between 4 to 8 years to make it into an Olympic team, okay? And maybe you know her better than I do, but there's a track and field athlete called Jessica Ennis. I think that's how you say it. And she said, and this was like mind-boggling, in the 4 years that she spent building up to the Olympics, she said she must have spent around 10,000 hours of, as she put it, blood, sweat, and tears into her training, right? Now, definitely people are gifted, certain people have gifts, but essentially she put in a ton of effort into her training and only achieved what she could due to the hours and hours and possibly the blood, sweat, and tears, right? If you'd walk into your local gym, I don't know why I'm so into the fitness, but if you'd walk into your local gym, right, and you'd see, a weight trainer, okay, someone trying to lift weights, right, he looks like he's in pain. He picks up one set of weights and they're really, really heavy, and he's kind of, in pain, or his face goes a bit red, and he manages, and, and then he keeps pushing himself. Now, if you'd say to him, like, what are you doing? He's like, I have a goal. I'm, picking up 100, kilos of weights, but I want to be doing double that, like I am achieving my potential through this experience that actually looks like it's painful to you. Okay. So I don't know if any of you know this story, but I love this story because I love when women come into the Torah and, they are amazing and we can learn from them. So there's a woman called Yehudit, okay? And this is a story of Yehudit. So there was a Greek commander who was basically took his army down to Jerusalem, and they encamped around the walls of the city and besieged it, okay? And he was in charge of this whole platoon, if you want to call it. Now, they weren't very nice people, and they did their job well. And what happened is that the relentless siege ended up drying out the food, slowly but surely the water, right? Things were drying out in Jerusalem. People were, getting weak, getting tired, and people started to lose hope, right? People started giving up, and they were in the square one night, and they said, and they were like, maybe we should just give in. Maybe like this is all for nothing, right? I know we've been holding strong. I know I know we're really trying, but maybe we should just tell them that we surrender and the end. And Yehudit, okay, with her strength, comes in and says, absolutely not. You are not going to give up so easily. God can look after us. God can save us at any given moment. Okay. And she said, I have a plan. And what was her plan? It was a very, very daring plan. She took wine and salty cheese, and she dressed up beautifully. She was actually a widow, and she dressed up beautifully, and she put it into a basket, and she walked into the camp. Okay. And all the guards are kind of looking for her. And she said, I'm looking for the commander. Where is he? I want to see him. I want to talk to him. And they're like, okay, pretty woman going to the commander's camp. We're not going to get in her way, right? We don't want to get on the wrong side of our commander. So they let her come, and he says, why are you here? And she says, I want to spend time with you, right? And he's like, great, of course, come in. So she wasn't a silly woman. She wasn't going in just to be messed around with. She wasn't going in, just for enjoyment at all, right? She had a plan. So what did she do? She started feeding him. She said, I make this delicious cheese. Try it. And she starts feeding him this salty cheese. And every time he gets thirsty and wants a drink, she gives him this wine. And very soon, the combination of the cheese and the wine makes him sleepier and sleepier, and he falls into a very drunk, sleep, and he passes out drunk. And it's quite a gory story, actually. When he's sleeping, she takes the sword out of his sheath, okay, and she takes it and she beheads him whilst he's sleeping. She then wraps up the head, not cool, puts it back into her basket, and basically just walks out of the camp. Now, no one's going to touch her, because if the commander has let her in, you're not going to touch that woman. Remember, we're not going to get on the wrong side of him. Meanwhile, they had no idea what was going on. She goes back to Jerusalem and she says, look what I brought you. And she shows it to them, and basically they realize that he's killed. If he's killed, it means that his army is not as strong. And they realize that they're actually in a position of strength. The army realize eventually that their commander's gone, and they realize that they're in a position of weakness, and they flee. And that was a key turning point in the revolt against the Greeks. Okay. So again, the story is a little bit of a gory one, but it happened and it's true. The question is, what can we learn from here? Now, when I was reading this story, I was struck by her audacity to kind of speak out against, leaders, against big people, to say, like, guys, you can't lose your faith. Like, what is going on here? You can't just give up. But more importantly, what I felt is that she made a choice. She said, okay, we've done, what we can up until now, but I think I have more resources. I think I can do one more thing, and hopefully, please God, I'll be successful, and then my plan will go according to the way I want it to, which is what happened in the end. But when she walked into that camp, very confidently, essentially, she didn't know that she was going to succeed. She pushed her boundaries. She said, yes, this is out of my comfort zone, but I feel like for some reason I have this desire to do this. I feel like it's a good idea, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. Okay. And she was incredibly successful, right? This was a monumental experience in the revolt against the Greeks. Okay. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard this verse, but there's a Chatam Sofer, okay, that says, if someone says, I worked hard, I toiled, if someone says, I didn't work hard, but I succeeded, don't believe him. Okay? If someone says, I worked hard, but I didn't succeed, don't believe him. If someone says, I worked hard and I succeeded, believe him. What is this coming to say? We're not talking about the small little, the kind of bumps in the road, the little things that we try and we fail and okay, fine, but like I really tried, right? We're talking about if you are successful, it means that you worked really hard on it, okay? Most long-lasting achievements come through really hard work. Top lawyers don't make it to the top because they were drinking coffee and messaging their friends in their breaks. They did night shifts, like they worked really, really, really hard. Any good teacher is marking her work. She's, preparing her classes. Anyone that's successful in whatever it is that they're doing, it didn't come easily. They put in a lot of effort. Now, I don't know every single one of you and kind of what each and every one of you is going through. But I know, for myself, I know a lot of friends who are going through really hard times. And whether it's, that they're going for testing and they're anxious about what the results are going to be, or, they've just had a baby and something's, wrong with the baby, or there's just so many different things. And I guess it's kind of the joy of getting older, more people, you're bigger, bigger people, bigger issues, more about the world, right? But one of the things that I have seen is that when people are tested in ways that that they would never have fathomed that they could have been tested in, they often find strength and they'll often be able to push against the boundaries that they didn't even realize they were able to push against. And they find a strength that they didn't even realize that they had. Okay. And I found this beautiful quote, which by someone called Richard Evans, which is, it's often in the darkest skies that we see the brightest stars, right? And I don't know if any of you have ever been to Cornwall. I don't know why Cornwall, you could go anywhere, but when we were camping in Cornwall, there's very little artificial light, right? Very little light pollution. And it was very dark, like pitch black, but the stars were absolutely beautiful. And in our own lives, sometimes when things are harder, sometimes when life is more challenging, that's when we find the brighter stars, right? So we need to push beyond our boundaries. Does anyone have any questions, by the way? No, everyone's happy. Great. Okay, the last aspect, the third aspect. Life is a challenge, okay? Life is a challenge. Find the light. In Al-Hanissim, this prayer that I was referring to before, one of the verses is Amadata lahem be'es sarasam. You stood by us. Sarasam, tsar, affliction, sorrow, suffering, right? Tsar in Hebrew is affliction. Tsar means narrow. You stood by us in our sorrow, in our suffering. And I felt like this coined life. Life is a challenge. Life is not meant to be easy. And when you hear this, when you're a teenager, you're like, Mom, go away. I don't care, but honey, life's meant to be difficult. Right. Okay, move on. No, it's not meant to be. And we all wish that life wasn't difficult. And, definitely some people's lives are more difficult than others. And at different stages of our life, I think life can be more difficult, than other times. But let's be honest, the first thing to remember is life is a challenge. It's not easy. It's just not easy. So now we have that down, right? Well, a few reasons, and again, like this is just very quickly, why would God put suffering in the world? Why would God make life into a challenge? And one is to give us free will. Okay, if you're a cow, you wake up in the morning, you get milked, you graze in some grass and you go back to bed. You have no free will, but your life is pretty easy, right? But we don't want to be a cow. So because we're humans, God gave us this blessing really of free will. So that's why there is, struggles in the world to help us make choices. And he also did it so that we could get closer to him. We could get closer to him. And one of the aspects that I love, which I think Judaism is quite, we speak about a lot, is also to make ourselves into better people. Okay. So that's kind of like on one foot why God would make life into a challenge. But life is a challenge. Now we need to find the light. Okay. So what is the light? To me, the light is really seeing God by my side, right? Really seeing God in our lives. Okay. And that's harder, right? So, okay, life's a challenge, but now what? So in Tehillim, in Psalms 92, chapter 92, verse 3, there's a beautiful verse, Lahagid baboker chastecha, to say, to tell over your kindness in the morning, okay? To talk about how amazing Hashem is in the morning, the emunatcha baleilot, okay? And your faithfulness each night. So we have morning, we have night, and there's also different language here, okay? So what's a different language? We have in the morning, talk about goodness, the chesed, and in the night, we talk about the faith. So what's the difference here? When things are light, when things are good, it's very easy to say, God, I love you. You're amazing. Life's great, right? Everything's going so well. That's in the boker. That's in the morning, okay? But in the night, when things get dark, when things are a bit more challenging, that is when we have to tap into this concept called emunah, okay? Called faith, right? And there's this beautiful quote. I'm very into quotes, as you could see, but there's this beautiful quote that someone sent me, which is that all that I have seen teaches me to trust God for all that I cannot see. And this to me explains this verse I just said to you, right? I have seen light in my life. I have seen when God and that God was good to me, okay? That teaches me to trust Hashem for when things aren't so light, for when I can't see what his plan is, for when I have no idea where he is taking me, right? When I'm struggling, okay? So finding the light isn't so easy, but one of the ways that we can is by reflecting on the past in our lives where God has shown us light and we felt it. We were so connected at that point. We were like, he's amazing, everything's so great. Now it's not, okay? Try tap into those times. And actually, the festival that we're celebrating right now, the Hebrew word for it teaches us a little bit about finding the light in our lives. Chanukah, okay? If you take, I think actually I was saying, I think I heard this like 15 years ago from Rebbetzen Mizrahi, I should say her name. Chanu, so if any of you have been to Israel, a car park is chanyon, okay? So chanu is to park, ka is here. Chanukah, park yourself here. Everyone, stand where you are right now, okay? Be still and look around, so to speak, even if it's in a virtual way, even if it's in a kind of, in a visual way, maybe you can't actually see it. See all the goodness that's around us. Illuminate all the goodness that we do have, not what we don't have, right? Chanukah, everyone, park yourselves right here. We light the candles, besides for in Israel, in our homes. Why do we light the candles in our homes? We want to illuminate all the goodness that's in our homes. We're so used to looking outside of ourselves. Her house is nicer, her husband's nicer, her car's nicer, she's prettier than me, she's more successful than me. We can go on and on and on. I can, at least, right? There's always other people in the world that are somehow more successful, doing better, their life's easier, right? Let's park ourselves right here, light our candles inside our homes, and look at what we do have, not at what we don't have. What we don't have, we can then go back and we can push our boundaries and we can try to achieve. But we have so much in our lives, okay? Now, it's interesting to note that Chanukah actually comes in the winter months when the days are extremely short. I don't know about any of you. I hate waking up at 6:30 in the morning and, you know, by 6:45, it's still not light. You're like, seriously? Like, I went to bed when it's dark, I wake up when it's dark. It's such a gross feeling, right? And it's cold. You go out to your car and there's ice in your car, right? And it's a time of darkness, really. And it's interesting that Hashem made it in the winter times when we need that light, right? So Hanukkah is really about bringing the light of what we do have and the fact that God is with us into our everyday lives and into our everyday relationships. Look how blessed we are. Look how much we do have. Okay, things aren't perfect at the moment, but they were so good before, right? So there are many dark places in all our lives, right? You know, and like I said, everyone's struggles are different. Sometimes for some people it's constant, for some people, you know, it dips in and out. But what's interesting is that a candle in the sun is nothing, right? If we'd be lighting candles in the sunshine, like, okay, the sun is amazing, and I'm taking a candle and I'm lighting it, nothing, right? Useless. A candle in the darkness is a powerful tool. Okay, even probably 100 years ago, they didn't have electricity. They were using candles, right? It can illuminate everything that we're looking for, right? So I wish in this talk I could say, yeah, I'm going to take away the pain. I'm going to take away the suffering. And we sometimes feel like that. Why can't we just take away the pain, take away the suffering, take it all away? We can't do that. But one of the things that we can do is we can light up our own lives and we can light up other people's lives. Okay, and that's very beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you something, and then I'm gonna choose, then I'll unmute you, and I'm gonna choose two people to tell me what they see. Okay. Let's see if this works. Wait. Mute. Okay, no, better. It says, I think I've allowed anyone to unmute themselves, okay? So I'm gonna show this to you, and then, okay. So I'm gonna show you this, and I want you to all for 30 seconds look at it, and then tell me what you see, okay? Okay. Okay, who wants to share what they see? Yeah, Batsheva? Oh, wait, just wait. I think you, yeah.
Yeah. I might know this one, but I see
Oh,
a black...
no. If you know it, don't say it.
A black dot.
A black
Okay.
dot, wonderful. Anyone else? Yeah? Okay, so I saw this actually yesterday. Someone sent through a beautiful video, right? A teacher told all the kids in the class, and Batsheva, you probably do know this, but it was really beautiful, and it came just at the right time. I love when like things come as I'm preparing a class, you know, it's like, yay. So a teacher says to all the kids in the class, I'm giving you a test, okay? And I'm going to give you this piece of paper, and I want you all to sit down and write what you see. And then he collects in all the papers. And what does everyone see? oh, the black dot, the dot is bigger than a pea, but it's smaller than a tennis ball. And it was on the left-hand side and it was a bit scribbly and there was a bit of white in the black dot, but it was mostly black. Actually, it was blue, you know, maybe my father drew it, maybe my mother drew it. Everyone talks about the black dot, okay? So what did he say, which I think is so beautiful? The black dot is all the struggles in our lives, okay? And yes, for some people, maybe the black dot is slightly bigger. But the black dot is the things that don't go right. The white stuff, right? Batsheva, this is probably the white stuff, all this empty stuff is all the good stuff in our lives, all the things that go well, all the things we don't think about. Like every so often I walk into my house and I think, oh my gosh, I have heat, you know, like we have heating, we have light, we have a home, you know. But all the white stuff is that kind of thing, right? The things that on a day-to-day basis, we basically take for granted. But when we're given the task to talk about what we see, a lot of us will see all the different things that we don't have, all the different things that aren't going so well, right? And essentially, the main focus is up to us. Will I see the black dot in my life? Will I see everything that's going wrong? Or will I see all the white stuff? I'll see the black stuff. I'm not going to negate it, right? It'd be silly to say, oh, I'm not struggling. Oh, you know, we're not making enough money. No problem. We're just going to go sit on the, you know, beach and just put our feet up because everything's all good. No, it'd be silly, right? But the question is what our focus is, right? And you meet people like this. I mean, we have this handyman who's just amazing. Like he had cancer of the tongue 10 years ago. And the operation they had to have, which saves his life, basically, he has no sense of taste. He can't taste anything, which to me is just like painful. But like, right? And the choice was live or lose your sense of taste. So when he was here, I offered him a cup of tea. And he said, yeah, he said, you know, sure, tea with milk and 2 sweeteners. He said, actually, it doesn't make a difference anyway, because I can't taste anything. So I was like, okay, so why do you put the sweeteners in? He said, habit, you know, but he was so positive. He couldn't stop going on about, you know, when he had this operation, he realized how such a gross thing like saliva is actually amazing for your mouth and how it keeps your, you know, your teeth healthy. And actually it keeps the weight off, you know, because he doesn't eat so much, right? And I was just looking at this guy thinking, but you can't taste anything. And it's all he could think about was the things that were beneficial, right? So really the focus is up to us. So just to recap quickly, okay? Be a fighter, fight with positivity, okay? We need to, every time we become apathetic, think, I can do this. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. I can do this. We get apathetic, we get depressed, we get down, we get tired. Okay, I'm going to soldier on, right? The next thing is pushing boundaries, right? And a beautiful quote from Rabbi Sachs, which is, the blessing is in the trying, right? I'm trying to be a good mother. I'm trying to be a good person. I'm trying, right? And the last one is, life is a challenge, but we need to find the light. We need to try and focus on the light. Okay. Anyone, questions, comments, would like to share something? Please unmute yourselves. You can all unmute yourselves, I think. Can you? Try? Yay, nay? No? See, this is the fun part. No. Dov, where are you? That's so weird. Just wait. Dov, really? I don't have to unmute you. How funny. This is like the joy of Zoom. Okay. I mean, I think try now, guys. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I got ya. Hi everyone. Okay, It's a little bit weird speaking to a screen, but I was trying to focus on all your pretty faces.
I've got a question.
Anyone? Question, comment? Yeah, Batsheva?
I just, first of all, thank you. That was fantastic. And I just want to ask you, sometimes like if you're feeling a bit down or depressed, there's like the feeling of it, which you've got to accept and just go through it sometimes.
Yeah.
But what happens when you start analysing, why am I feeling down? What's wrong with me? And you actually analyse those feelings. How can you stop yourself doing that?
Ooh. I mean, that takes effort, you know. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. It's a place that we sometimes get into that we need to learn in our own way to move out of, you know. It's okay to dip into that place, but essentially we have to learn to live outside of it, you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Gay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, I just want to say I recently lost my husband.
Oh,
and
so sorry.
actually I joined the Hebrew reading with Rabbi Birnbaum, your husband, presumably. And it's helped me a great deal. It's only been a few months, and obviously it's devastating for me, but I've just, because I was starting doing the Hebrew reading, it has given me a certain positivity. So from what you're saying, I can really take it to heart. And it's so important having good family and friends, but it's got to come from yourself a little bit as well. And hearing what you're saying, I believe it, certainly.
Well, you're amazing because you're here tonight, you know, and you've definitely done one of the steps, which is pushing boundaries. And I'm sure you're doing other things, you know, as well. And it's so hard to lose a loved one, a very dear
and
loved
I'm
one.
not I've never thought of myself as a positive person. I think I'm positive, I'm negative almost.
Join the club.
But, you know, never having been on my own and never lived alone, I realised, really for Michael's sake as well, it's got to come from me, however kind people are. And people, particularly my Highgate Shawl, have been so kind. And, you know, what can I say? Every day you have to motivate yourself. And it's only recently that I've sort of turned the corner a little bit, but it's so important to have that positivity. So thank you.
Thank you. That is super inspirational. I mean, and that was, I think I must have quoted you, and I don't know who else, you know, by saying that very often you meet people who you know are put in a situation that we don't imagine ourselves in, they didn't imagine themselves in, and they somehow find that inner strength, kind of something, you know, that helps them get, you know. And yes, it takes months, and you know, but it's unbelievable and inspirational.
I mean, a few weeks ago I wouldn't dreamt of doing anything like this, and I'm pushing myself, and somebody said I don't know my own strength. But
you see and it's amazing, you know, what we can achieve. I mean, one of the things that obviously I'm a counselor, so, but like the mind is so powerful. The mind is just such a powerful tool. You know, you think of your arms being strong, you think of, you know, your body being strong, but we don't think of how powerful our minds are. But really, you know, it's very often about, you know, doing that kind of, right, recreating a positive framework, even if that doesn't come naturally to us, which I think for myself, you know, is definitely a struggle at times. But yeah, thank you. Anyone else? No?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's any questions, you're always welcome to contact me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we look forward to meeting you in person.
Happy Chanukah, everyone.
Happy
Happy Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
Thank you.